Hi everyone and welcome to the latest episode of Just Good Games. So with the recent announcement and trailer dropping for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which looks awesome by the way, I thought there was no better time to do a ranked tier list of the Assassin's Creed series. We're talking all the mainline games. We are talking not the 2D spin-offs, not the mobile games, just the console releases in the main series of the Assassin's Creed franchise. Assassin's Creed is a series which I have really enjoyed and I have played since the first game. I remember when that first trailer dropped, how excited I was for this series, and it's a series which I think has definitely improved over time, and there's obviously been a few missteps as we're about to find out, but I think overall it is a very good series, a very interesting series, and a series which has managed to adapt with the times. So before we crack on to the first entry, I will just like to ask you guys to go down there and hit that subscribe button now please. So let's crack on with the Assassin's Creed tier rankings for Just Good Games. Now obviously the tier rankings themselves, they speak for themselves. You have S, A, B, C, D and F. F is obviously a complete failure and S is like top. So we start with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the latest entry into the franchise. A good game by my reckoning. It has probably the biggest map of the series. It takes it to ancient Greece and follows on from Origins. Obviously it's not like a direct sequel, but it is definitely in the style of Origins, which is really cool, which is a more different style than some of the earlier games. I will probably talk more about that style in the Origins entry as opposed to the Odyssey entry. There's a lot to do in this game, lots of side missions, there's a battle system, there's obviously naval combat, there's you have the 4 mythical creatures. They're like bosses. They're almost like Dark Souls style bosses. There's just a lot to do in this game and it's really fun. The main story for me is not probably as good as some of the Assassin's Creed games. So this probably makes me torn between putting it in A and B. It's whether I enjoyed the story as much as some of the other games. I did platinum this game. I'm not going to take into account DLC in all these options, as I think that would just be too much, as there's been a lot of DLC for Odyssey. But I think I'm going to stick Odyssey. I might move this around at the end, but I think I'm going to stick Odyssey in B for now. Next up we have Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which is just before Ubisoft took a break from making the series. They were coming out yearly before they took the break, and then obviously after Syndicate they went to a 2-year cycle, which I think has benefited the quality of the games so much more. But Syndicate, after the relative failure of Unity, Syndicate was a really tight and nice experience. It removed a lot of the elements which was in Unity and a few of the games before. It almost stripped it back to a nice single player experience with a fun story. You could obviously, this is the first one where you can play as a female assassin. It was very cool, very fun to play. I did a lot in this. Again, it had sort of a lot of them have a territory system where you sort of take back territory from the Templars, which is always fun. Assassin's Creed Syndicate, obviously being in the UK, is very cool as well, and it had some really nice, all the future glitches things where it takes you to different locations. It had a World War one, which was really fun. I think I'm going to stick Syndicate. Oh god, just moved it then, we don't want that. I think I'm going to stick Syndicate in B as well, which might mean that Odyssey might move up later, to be honest. Next we have Assassin's Creed Unity, which at the core is a very good game when it worked. It had a lot of, again, all these games have a lot of systems going on, but this probably had one of the most robust multiplayer systems in the entire Assassin's Creed franchise, where you could do co-op missions with with your mates, which was really fun. I did a few with my mate. The story is obviously set during the French Revolution, which is always fun. They really tried to go big with this entry. Really big, with more crowds. I think this was the first one on the next gen, on this current gen, on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So they were really trying to show off what these new consoles could do. But oh, it just broke a lot, didn't it? There's all those memes, the photos of the faces not rendering properly, and unfortunately, because that's the case, and the story's good, but I can't really remember a lot of the story. I think the missions were good, but there's nothing which really stood out. Some of the stories in the Assassin's Creed games are just really, really good and really memorable, but Unity strikes me as just more of a forgettable option. It obviously pushed the tech way too far, and for that, I'm going to stick it in D. Because to be honest, yeah, that seems about right actually. We're going to stick it in D. Assassin's Creed 3, coming off the success which was the Ezio trilogy, Assassin's Creed 3 had a lot to live up to. And I think mostly it did live up to them expectations, except the main protagonist is not that interesting compared to obviously Ezio Auditore, who came before. Can't say Ezio Auditore, not in an Italian accent, can you? Obviously it introduced like a bit more ambiguity to your assassin in it, as your dad being Haytham, being a Templar, is really cool. It adds a nice wrinkle to the story. It's all of them are personal, but this one felt like a more personal story, which is quite cool. I believe it introduced the naval stuff into it, but don't hold me to that, because obviously Black Flag was next. And I think obviously everyone looked at Assassin's Creed and said, oh, 3, and was like, oh, the naval combat's really, really good in this game. Let's just make a game based on that. I'm pretty sure that's correct, but don't hold me to it. Should have done more research, but I did do a bit. But there you go. I played all these games as well, besides Liberation, which we'll get to in a bit. So Assassin's Creed 3, I like obviously the Native American weapons used in this game. They're really cool. It had some fun missions, but I think after the first game, the Ezio Auditore obviously trilogy, and then 3 was pushing the original sort of premise of the game a bit. It was wearing a bit thin and it needed a bit of reinvention. And obviously Assassin's Creed 3, it sort of was a bit boring at times, but I'm definitely going to stick that Assassin's Creed 3 in C, as I think it just sits in the alright class. And again, that is moving, but we'll be alright. So next we're going to go to Assassin's Creed Origins, the big reinvention, the game which pretty much changed it into The Witcher 3. It borrows a lot from The Witcher 3, or more big open world games. It became more of a action RPG as just sort of an action stealth game. Obviously you had more robust upgrades. You couldn't just like kill people anymore. There was a leveling system, and if your level wasn't high enough you would find it more difficult. So it really obviously transitions from the old Assassin's Creed to the new Assassin's Creed, and that is obviously present in Odyssey. Obviously Origins is in ancient Egypt, which is so cool. Egypt is a place where I wish they would have went, and they went there, and it was really good. And I'm gonna put Origins. See, I'm gonna have to move Odyssey up, because I think Odyssey is better than Origins, and I want to put Origins in B, definitely above Syndicate. But is Syndicate and Origins on the same level? We'll leave it for now, but here we go to probably the first entry, which is definitely going to get into S, and that is Assassin's Creed 2. Assassin's Creed 2 took everything which was good about the first Assassin's Creed, it removed all the bad stuff and just improved upon it so much. I've never seen really a bigger leap in, well, there's been a couple, but the leap in quality from the first game to the second game is so vast and so well done that Assassin's Creed 2 is probably the pinnacle of the series for me. It's fun. As I said, some of the other games are just a bit too serious, take themselves a bit too serious. This game had the nice emotional edge to it, and it was fun as well. And it also has the best assassin in the entire series in Ezio Auditore. The fact that you have 3 games which follow his entire life says all you need to know about Ezio. He was just cool. Italy is a great setting, the Renaissance Italian setting. The fact that I've been to a couple of cities also helps. I've been to quite a few of them in Unity as well, obviously Paris. And Number 2 is just the bar which every Assassin's Creed game is measured by. Obviously, you had Leonardo da Vinci as your weapons guy, which was so cool, and Assassin's Creed 2 just does go into the S. It has to. It's so good. Next, we move on to Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Brotherhood is a direct sequel to Assassin's Creed 2, obviously following Ezio Auditore once again. It's more of the same from number 2, but obviously they introduced like the Brotherhood mechanic, which was sort of almost like a real-time strategy type thing with your like creeds. You obviously took over the creed quite a bit, and it introduced like the sending other assassins onto other missions sort of side of things, which was really cool. It was fun, and the story was not as good as Assassin's Creed 2, but it was a nice continuation of Ezio's story, and for that I think I'm going to put it in B. That makes sense. Yeah, we'll leave it there for now. Next, we have the game which started it all, Assassin's Creed. When the trailer first dropped for Assassin's Creed, I was like, yeah, I want this. This is really, really good. Obviously, we didn't know a lot about the futuristic stuff which would come into play, which I've really failed to mention in all these entries. But no one really plays these games for the futuristic setting. Well, some people might, but I don't. Assassin's Creed 1 obviously introduced a lot of the concepts which were still in the games today. Obviously, the hidden blade, everyone loves that, but it was just a bit boring and a bit repetitive at times. And to be honest, I can't put it in F because it did not fail, but I think it definitely deserves to be in D with Unity, as I don't think it's as good as 3, as a lot of the mechanics were sorted out in number 3, so I don't think it can really be any higher than D, which makes sense. Unity and the first one together makes a lot of sense. The next one is the one I haven't played, which is Assassin's Creed Liberation. I'm not going to go on about this. I know it's it's on PSP, and I'm just going to stick it in F now. That's not a reflection of quality, that's just a reflection of I haven't played it. I'm not going to try and talk about it not knowing anything about it. Right, the next one, if I just move this up, is Assassin's Creed Rogue, which was a spin-off from Assassin's Creed 3 pretty much, and I think it was on the last gen, not the last gen. It was on the gen before the gen which Assassin's Creed Black Flag was on. It sort of came out at the same time, and I think it came out on PlayStation 3 and 360, but don't hold me to it. I thought it was really enjoyable. It's one of the most underrated Assassin's Creed games. It follows Haytham, I believe, and is just cool. It blurs the line a lot because of obviously Haytham's like Templar allegiances going on, and it's one of the ones which questions the creed quite a bit. And I've just thought it was a really enjoyable game, and I think it's going to go into C with Assassin's Creed 3 as they sort of work together as companion pieces, so that makes more sense. And then we have the last one, which is Assassin's Creed Revelations, which closes out Ezio's story and also closes out Altair's story from the first game. This was really fun, and I found this more enjoyable than Brotherhood. I thought it was a better game than Brotherhood. I just enjoyed following a much older Ezio Auditore. I liked closing out Altair's story. It removed some of the gumph from Brotherhood, and so for me, Revelations definitely goes in B above Brotherhood. Now, you may be saying like, oh, we've got to just move that down a bit. We've got to the end a little bit, but I've got a feeling I'm going to move a couple of these about, because these are my initial knee-jerk reactions, but seeing some of the categories being shared, I think there needs to be some movement. I am going to keep Liberation in F, just because I ain't played it, so there you go. I think Unity and Assassin's Creed 1 definitely both deserve to be in D. Like, I'm considering moving the first one up, but I don't think it's on the level of number 3 which is unfortunate. Unity, if it worked, could probably have been at a B level, but just for me, it ruined the experience. So I'm going to keep them in D. I think Assassin's Creed 3 and Rogue work well together. I think they definitely deserve to be in C. They did a lot of good things, but are just not as enjoyable as what comes in the higher tiers. B is where we're going to probably start moving a few things about. Revelations definitely deserves to be in B. I think Origins definitely deserves to be in B and probably should be moved up to the top of B. I think that's about right. Syndicate is definitely at the bottom of B, but could it move down to a C? Or could Brotherhood move down to a C? Or could I move Origins up? I think I'm going to move Origins up to A. Because then, when we get into A, I think, yeah, that Black Flag deserves to go into S. That makes sense. Because then you have the two new ones together on A because they're very similar and very, very good. And then they sort of work very well together. And then S is just Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I'm happy with that now. So there we go. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for making it to the end of my Assassin's Creed tier listing. Obviously you could probably completely disagree. Oh, you probably don't disagree with number 2 because number 2 is just the best. You probably disagree with me on a lot of this and I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments below. Keep it nice. All I need you to do now is hit that subscribe button, hit like, share this, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and once again you have been watching Just Good Games.